Ashley Deem, Associate Publisher and Editor of Fantini's Gaming Report. I'm here with Todd Eilers of Eilers & Krejcik Gaming. Todd, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks, Ashley.
So, Todd, you are here again with us doing our CEO one-on-ones, and you bring a different perspective, perhaps the only research and consulting firm that focuses both on slot machines and emerging forms of gaming, such as skill-based, online, daily fantasy sports, and esports. I should also mention that Todd is a business partner. We co-publish the Eilers-Fantini Quarterly Slot Survey, which is, beyond question, the industry's largest survey of its kind. So we're going to jump right into some questions.
Sounds good.
Focusing on slot machines, there have been fewer on the floor, but replacements have ticked up slightly. Can you speak a little bit about where you see both new and replacement trends in the U.S. slot market?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. I feel valued and definitely a great partner, and I do think we have a great survey, so look forward to continuing that. With respect to slot machines installed and removals and replacement sales, some of the trends we have seen, over the last 5 years is we did see a bit of a contraction, especially in the commercial install base of slot machines. In some certain challenged markets like Atlantic City, but even outside of Atlantic City, still in Nevada and Mississippi, some of the more mature, older markets, we saw some reductions in slot machines as operators post-recession kind of right-sized their floor and kind of opened up the casino floor. And what we've seen recently, though, is the overall market has actually started to grow again from an install base point of view, especially when you add in tribal casinos. Tribal casinos, a little bit less competition, not as strapped financially, and so you didn't see the contraction in the install base that you saw on the commercial side. So that certainly helped. And then, as you mentioned, lately we've seen finally a nice pickup in slot replacement sales. And frankly, that's a function, I think, of the overall health in the market. Without, any sort of disruptive technology out there, usually replacement sales are kind of a function of top line revenue. And so to the extent that the overall industry is growing, that's kind of flowed down into the replacement market for the suppliers. The only other thing I would add there is obviously the emergence of Caesars from bankruptcy. They are a very large operator out there that owns a lot of slot machines, and so having them back in the market buying replacement slot machines again has also provided a boost to the market in the near term.
And then we also have different forms of gaming that maybe, Pennsylvania, for example, is going to appears to be considering slot routes or VLTs and liquor license establishments. We've certainly seen that growth in Illinois. How do you see growth in those types of markets?
Sure. Well, we definitely see that as an opportunity for the industry, especially when you look at venue-style casino opportunities. There's far fewer of those nowadays. You still have a couple states that are still out there, like a Texas, but for the most part, most states have either commercial casino or tribal casino. But there's not a whole lot of states that have what we call, there's a lot of terms for it. A lot of people use the term route market. Some might use distributed gaming market. Others might call it the bar and tavern market. But definitely think that there's a large opportunity out there for both states, operators, and suppliers. I think traditionally casino operators have always viewed that as kind of a competitive market. But I think what you've seen over the last couple of years is more of an embracing stance to those sorts of opportunities. You've had Penn National, Delaware North, Golden Gaming. All these casino operators also own route operations now as well. And so I think you've seen a push in that direction. Like you said, Illinois has been, by all rights, a successful story, especially from an incremental tax revenue standpoint for the state. It's been great for the suppliers. For the operators that have decided to expand into that market, it's been good for them as well. And I think there are some other opportunities. Pennsylvania is certainly a big one, potentially estimates of 40,000 slot machines certainly would be good from a supplier standpoint. Not sure how it ultimately ends up, but it definitely seems like there is positive momentum moving in that direction. And what we've traditionally seen in the gaming industry is once you get 2 or 3 states to kind of adopt some form of gaming and it's successful, there tends to be kind of a cascade effect with more states to follow. So I definitely think that would be a good positive impact for the industry going forward.
And on the lottery side, are there some trends that we should be on the lookout for over the coming year?
Sure. On the lottery side, one interesting thing that you could start to see is with respect to virtual sports. There's a company that we follow pretty closely called Inspired Entertainment, and they have a virtual sports product that can be depends on the state, but can be deemed a lottery product. We feel, and that's a mature industry that I believe needs some new products and some new ideas, and that's certainly something that's kind of out of the norm, and I think is a good opportunity for lotteries to add more entertainment, more products, and grow their revenue to support good causes, and also an opportunity for certain suppliers as well, Inspired being one of those.
And you mentioned outside of the norm. There's a lot of buzzwords that we see. We see skill-based gaming, we see daily fantasy, we see esports. Are these things, especially skill-based gaming and the Dave and Buster's type model where you have entertainment zones with gambling machines in them, is this just a fad? Is this something that's here to stick around?
I think it's certainly, from an esports standpoint, certainly not a fad. Those are some pretty staggering numbers in terms of viewership, and so certainly don't think that's a fad. I think how it relates and interrelates with the casino industry is an interesting dynamic, and how that ultimately ends up is I think to be determined. But certainly you're talking about a large demographic, a young demographic, and if the casino industry can figure out a way to cater to that demographic, from a gaming or a non-gaming standpoint, I think it's certainly a good opportunity for the land-based industry. With respect to skill-based games, still very, very early stage. That's a new type of game or new type of gaming that's gotten a lot of press, over the last 2 or 3 years. There's several companies out there, standalone companies, that have developed skill-based games and are just starting to place those games out into casinos this year. Starting to get some initial numbers, nothing too exciting from a traditional performance standpoint, but I think the real question is, should you even measure it with versus a slot machine? If it's bringing in a new customer or an incremental customer, if it performs half of what a normal slot machine does, as long as you have the space, maybe you would do that. And so I think we're still in generation 1 of those sorts of games. We kind of need to see the second and third generations, and casinos need to kind of work with those suppliers to put these products in the right spot within the casino to cater to that demographic.
And you have Adam Krejcik and Chris Grove on your staff who are covering things like social gaming, and I know that that's their area of expertise, but are there forecasts, are there trends that we can look for in social gaming?
Sure. You're correct. Adam, my partner, covers social casino gaming along with internet gaming in the U.S. Social gaming has been a fantastic growth market for the last 3 to 4 years, $3 billion plus now. You have both casino operators as well as suppliers involved. What we've seen is a lot of M&A activity in that space over the last several years. We've also seen suppliers get into that market and infuse their time-tested, top land-based games that they've developed over years and years. And what we've seen is that those games tend to outperform non-traditional casino games by a factor of 2 to 3 times. And so that's been a great expansion opportunity for the suppliers, for sure. And on the operator side, it's a great way to reach your customer base while they're not in your casino. And to extend your brand, to cross-market with your land-based operations, I think makes a lot of sense. And so that's been a really good market for both traditional casino operators as well as suppliers.
And is there something that you anticipate to be on the trade show floor this week that you think is worth seeing specifically?
Specifically, I haven't seen a whole lot yet in terms of the pre-G2E meetings. I'm trying to think if there's anything that really jumped out at me. You know, what's always of interest is everyone signs up the latest, third-party branded premium games. So there'll be a lot of those out on the market. Scientific Games, I think, has the James Bond license now. So I'm interested to kind of see those games. The next iterations of like The Walking Dead for Aristocrat. I saw that IGT has their Wheel of Fortune 4D game that they've announced, which I thought last year that 4D technology was pretty interesting. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things along those lines that I'm curious and taking a look at. Obviously, everyone's going to have more skill-based games. I'd like to see how those compare this year versus last year. And last year also there was a lot of focus on mobile payment technology. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues or if that was just kind of a fad last year. We've seen tons of curved slot machines the last couple of years, so I'm sure we'll see a lot more of those, but maybe some different form factors on the base slot machines. It'll be interesting to see if there's anything like that out there.
Great. Well, Todd, thank you again for joining us, and as always, we appreciate the business alliance that we have through Eilers-Fantini's quarterly slot survey.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.